it's already started, whatever. So here, you're entertaining these ideas. And then, of course, the selfing, faced with a lot of situations and volatility, the action figure starts having discomfort or ill at ease or this and that. And then, entertaining non-duality turns into a different way of entertaining. You're trying to get something from it. You want relief from you, but as you. Yeah. This is where you run into a wall, and then there's like people will call me and their girlfriend left, let's say, and they talk to me for about 15 minutes. Well, I know there is no girlfriend, and there's no one she left, and on because of non-duality knowledge. But then all they want to do is fucking cry. Yes, my girlfriend left. Hallelujah. Which, saved 20 minutes on the phone going through these non-dual gymnastics, because the head's trying to freaking get relief from itself, as itself. That's the dilemma. So the head seems to, and I mean the mental processes, this action figure, this action figure is confronted with unbelievable degrees of difficulty. It wants to have a stable condition in an unstable condition. Everything is volatile, and then you throw time in it, and so you can be perfectly cool at 9 in the morning, but 9:02 shows up, and different conditions arise. You get a call, your girlfriend left with someone else or whatever, and then suddenly your little all the blocks that you thought were in a row just one comes out, and then. Let's say before that, you're entertaining non-duality, you're entertaining the evidence of duality, So you get a sense of non-duality by seeing duality, and it's beautiful. But now suddenly the action figure is feeling uncomfortable, and now it grabs the non-duality and tries to use it as a skillful means. So, there is no Mary, so no one left me, and it doesn't freaking work. You're feeling bummed out and ripped up, but now there is no one to leave and no one left and all like this. That doesn't go anywhere. So the beautiful thing is to recognize, because mind is manifesting now. Mind, everything. So it's nice to be able to recognize where it is on the manifesting scale. And if it's in, just resting in the be still advice of Ramana Maharshi, or I'm feeling fucking shitty and this guy owes me money, this and that. Well, then you need skillful means at that time. It's not you don't need them, there's a need for them. So then the skillful means are used, but they're not being used to imply the user of the skillful means. That's called flexibility. What happens with everything is dogma sets in and rigidity. So I could see it on the old non-dual websites. I remember I got asked to do an interview for Urban Guru Cafe. It was one of the first ones based out of Australia. So after I did the interview, I went to their site and then watched, and they had other people did talks, and then I looked at the commentary, and it was like non-dual dueling. It was like, you said I, you said me twice. And it was like everyone was getting disqualified because they weren't pure enough in word, in fucking meaningless language. They weren't a purified non-dualist because they said I or me. I said, Jesus Christ, they'd have a field day with me. Because who cares? Those are like non-dual Pharisees. They got the letter of the law, but they don't have the spirit of the law. And the spirit of the law is that it's fucking sloppy. And you're going to have to, there's going to be, like, people go like this, well, how can you stay in AA? This is not easily. There's no problem with it. Because it's like if you were awake, let's say you got awake and you had diabetes, would you stop shooting insulin? Of course not. The body has diabetes, So let's say the brain, the mental, physical condition here has alcoholism, and a lot of people want to get a get out of jail free card, and non-duality shows up, and then they're calling me. Well, why do I need to do an inventory? There's no one that did anything. Why, there's no self, so let's just shoot right in. But then they're drunk non-dualists. You know, they're drunk Buddhists. I've seen tons of them. Yeah, because the head wants to. It's like that the desert. It's like the coyote in the desert when it runs into that big tortoise. It wants to get some meat, and after 3 or 4 minutes, it realizes much quicker than we do. There's no access, so it gets disinterested. It leaves. That's what non-duality is like. The mind wants to make something out of it. It wants to get an advantage out of it, but it's not going to be able to twist it to its own use, and it gets bored, and that's when it becomes really, really available. Because the thing that's causing it to be very, very hard to see is the looking for it. Yeah? When you lose any desire to look for it, then something is available. Yeah? When you're looking for it, you're blind because you are what's looking. This is the dilemma. So you can't use the being to find the being. Yeah? You can't go, all right, screw the being, I'm going to use the being to do and have myself into the being. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked, and it's not going to work. Yeah? So these are just simple corrections. I didn't want to hear this message. You know, I could have had a safe, spiritual seeking identity, you know, not too great, not too bad, good meditator, does this, gone up to different continents, sat with many masters. It would have been great, you know. Almost had like sergeant stripes. It would be this loving gaze developed, you know, feeling oneness or like that. Yeah, that's easy. This is difficult because it pulls all those pants down. And you're like left with that which you've been trying to get out of since you were like 5 or 6. It's finally you just say, there's no way I can escape me. This is going to be here. As long as this seems to be happening, this is going to be here. Yeah. And I've tried my best to get out of here at this place. I have, in many, many vehicles. Some that I gave a better effort than others, but I had a great interest in getting out of here. And I realized deeply, you cannot transcend an imaginary place. This is dreaming. It's dreaming. The dreamt is never going to leave here. It isn't. It's never going to rise above and be a super dreamt. It's not going to be the perfect embodiment of no thing as a thing. It isn't. There's a guy that he had rated himself as a master, as the greatest master, and he was supposed, don't give him his name, but he was the full embodiment of that. But then he had a heart attack and died. I probably didn't even know he was going to die. Because if he did, he would have probably set up a big ceremony for the death. He just was walking around dropped dead. You would think if he was the perfect embodiment, he would have known when the body was going to shut off. I don't know, maybe he did. It didn't seem like that. You know, so I think you're always getting caught by surprise here. Because I don't know about you, but I've been wanting to get out of here since I was 6, in some form or another. More out of me, basically. If I could have been someone else, I may have really loved this place. But the way I was, I couldn't seem to love it because there was way too much thinking around it, you know. After that certain point when I was young, I can almost remember when I would do things when I was a kid and there would be no thought. And then one day I did something and then thought, it was accompanied by thought, and it never stopped being accompanied by thought ever since then, you know. And all my drinking and doing drugs was just trying to get relief from that. That which I'm not was way too here, you know, all freaking day. You'd love to send it around the corner for a while. Yeah, but self can't get out of self. That's the freaking dilemma. And so we've tried a huge amount. But the self-centered system is incredible because when the system fails, you blame yourself. You say you didn't meditate enough, you didn't do enough, it's always a perfect smokescreen for a failed system, is that the practitioner will take on the failure. That's what self-centeredness is like. Yeah. Self-centeredness is that you will see your part in things that you had nothing fucking to do with. You know, that's how this system sees things. It sees as, how does everything pertain to me? So when I was a kid, I use this example a lot. I was 6 years old, you know, a little pretty out there kid, you know, very like a low, middle-class family, no abuse or anything. And then my father got really ill, and so my mother had the family doctor come and talk to me about, you know, your father's not going to be that available to you anymore. And then my mother talked to me about it, and maybe my older sister talked to me about it. And I understood what they were saying, but inside me, the only way it could be translated was, what have I done to make my father not to want to play with me, basically. That's self-centeredness. That's the root of it, yeah? So that's, even when you're looking to get out, you're looking at that, as that, yeah? You want to be there to get out of there, yeah? That's the dilemma. So I was just going along, and somehow someone said, hey, why don't you come and listen to this person, you know, pretty interesting invitation. So I went, and it opened up a possibility of a different direction, really. It told it instead of looking out there to arrive at someplace, it just asked you to turn the attention to this and see if you're that, you know, like the famous self-inquiry of who am I, which is from the earliest scriptures in the world, the Vedas, yeah? Instead of going, hey, what's this, what's that, where's the truth? Just ask, who are you? Just like this whole conversation could have stopped if I would have pressed the point of, well, who is it that thinks they're unconscious or lost conscious contact? Because conscious contact hasn't been lost at all. There's just a mental idea that there is someone that could lose conscious contact because it implies that you have power you don't have. The head wants to imply that it can separate from everything. And then it double whammies it because now it tries to reunite. How can that which has never been apart reunite? Yeah, how can that which has never been apart reunite? It's seeing you're not that which believes it's been apart. And then the weird experience of being reunited tells you it's always been that way. So there's never been any reunion because there's only been that union. And it's not even a union because there's no two things to unite. There just is. And if a download is worth its salt, it's going to tell you, hey, it's always been this way. Once it down, in a moment in time, let's say, it inserts itself into this, and then it just goes right through this, and it leaves this recognition of, it's always been this way. So my whole story before, negated. My possible story in the future, negated. And then whatever story I'm trying to cling on to, which is that or this, because there's no story now. It's that or this, I can't get the rope. So you're there, completely there, and once you're completely there or here, it tells you it's always been this way. There's never been a point that you could not be here. That's what it tells you. It doesn't say it to you in words. Something occurs, and then the residue goes, wow, you know. So obviously, it makes no sense to look for that which hasn't gone anywhere. Yeah. Now, this is where the dilemma starts, because then the mental state re-ups, comes up, and then you, as the mental state, want to either get back, because as the mental state, it's based on the presumption it's not there, because it's here. And this is where the dilemma occurs. So you have a sense of what's so, then the mental state shows up, claims to be the one who had that sense, and now feels like it's lost and it has to get back to it. That's all fucked.
So when you go to that point,
what?
When you go to that point, you just wait for another moment.
Just sit there. What can you do? If you've been shown that your mechanism cannot pick up this, then what happens? Maybe lose interest in the mechanism? I don't know. But if you try to lose interest in the mechanism, as the mechanism is interest of the mechanism. So you have a sense, you have it already. There's something prior to the story of Paul. And we're directly that. It's not a huge leap to entertain Paul from there instead of trying to entertain this from Paul. It's not really. It's just a simple little zip. And then once you look at what you're not, it registers as the fucking way, so to speak. So now the horse is in front of the cart. And it tells you, this is what happened with me in recovery. Give it, I'd say, 9 years into recovery. And what had nothing to do with 9 years. It was just, And something, my head, and the head did something, let's say. And then after a week or two, it would try to seek expression. So it was trying to, make sense of something through. So I was reading this part in How It Works in Recovery, and there's a statement, it's still profound to me to this day, where he says, and the guy who wrote this or wrote through it may not have been aware of it anyway. He just was downloading anyway. Bill W. may not have even known what was being implied. But he says, being convinced, which means an active state, being convinced, that self manifested in various ways is what has defeated us. So it's beautiful because he separates self and us, So we're all us, let's say in this example, and then there's self, some whatever. I call it just a compilation of the mental process. The mental processes of memory, thought, interpreting, perception, So this projects this idea that you're a solid, long-lasting, independent thing. Maybe it makes sense out of what's nonsensical by doing it, who knows? But there's a drive by the brain to fucking make this place known, because knowing it is a sense of security for it. Even if it's completely wrong, it just wants to know it, because the abstract scares the bejesus out of the mental state. It really does, So all right, so now it says, being convinced that self manifested in various ways, so what has defeated us? I was. At that moment, I was being convinced that that was completely true, and it's never changed since then. 21 years. It never changed. There was never, we're going to reconvene a debate about this topic. We're going to bring some scholars in with new insights. They found some archaeological sites. No, it was very clear in the innermost that self manifested in various ways is what had defeated us as this. Okay? All right, so now what do? Well, let's look at self through some of its manifestations, because you're not going to see self, but you can quote unquote see self by looking at its manifestations. So then we do written stuff, inventories at resentments and fears, so that we can see what? Not that they're my resentments and how many fears I have, but I see that they're manifestations of self. So the fears and resentments aren't mine. This is the whole point. The whole point of non-duality, in a sense, there is no you, me, or mine. And then because a lot of the troubles we seem to entertain are based on there's a you, me, and mine. So you see that the resentment isn't yours, what happens? You're more apt to be able to let it go. And after seeing why you couldn't let it go, because they did it to fucking me for 30 years, when you see that they didn't, just like I would have done what I did to anyone, unless you could physically stop me, they're in the same condition. So it stops being, they did this to me and they just did it. So did I, thousands of times. The resentment loses its hold, because the hold isn't the resentment getting me in a tracker beam, it's a tracker beam holding the resentment. Yes? The tracker beam of self is holding the resentment, the fear, and it's affixing it with a my resentment, my fear. Now the resentment that would have come and gone starts just going around. It comes back every 20 years. You remember that motherfucker who hurt you when you were 14? On and on and on. And then suddenly you got this asteroid belt of fears, resentments, and unfortunately the joy and the happiness is very minor little stones. The big planet-like asteroids are, the slights, the embarrassments, and so now you got this huge thing, and you're bitching about all of them, but it's the gravity of you holding them in freaking place. So this whole point is just a recognition of how things are set up, so that, see, right now, attention and interest is misdirected almost all day by the mental state. It takes the attention and interest and sends it. It can't get out of here, but it distracts the attention and interest by thinking of what's not happening. So the interest and attention goes into black holes, and it doesn't bring back the joy or the sense of camaraderie or connection. It's just out to dry, and you can see it with porno and all that stuff. People are just in mental fantasy. they look at another person as an object that they can do some gymnastics with, and they'd like to have it filmed. It's like when I was on cocaine. That's what it was like. I tried to live all my mental fantasies, and the emptiness that was there was unbearable. Because you could do whatever you fucking wanted, and yet then you didn't get anything of what you wanted. Actually, it almost like the flavor was extracted out of you. And it wasn't the activities, it was the fantasies. It was living in a mental fucking world. Yeah. Where nothing's ever enough. It's like that Tibetan hungry ghost with the big belly and a little mouth, but it's insatiable. It can never get enough. That's what addiction is like. Yeah. And I think we're all, the mental state is addicted to this idea of being a self. It's addicted to it. It's shooting it up all day. And we can't even see that we're addicted to self because we're taking ourselves to be the drug we're addicted to, which that never happened to me. I did tons of cocaine, yet I never crossed the line and thought I was cocaine, ever. Not one moment, 10 days up straight, never thought I was cocaine. But we're starting out as being Paul from the get-go. I mean, really, we are long-term users. And there's no rehab for us. There's a cold turkey, basically. So the attention and interest is being misdirected onto yesterday and tomorrow with the allure or like the scent of it's you, it's about you. Like the bloodhounds of the attention and interest go out and they'll just go to whatever's about you. And right now, the thoughts are mostly about you. When you're living life, it's really not about you at all. It's about us or whatever, yeah? But in the mental realm, it's all about you. So the interest and attention is going, it's meant to sort of go out, come back, go out, like a circulation. Now it just goes out and then comes to the head, back. So it's like a breath that's never completed. It's like, you know? It's like hyperventilating in a sense. And the point is, if that can be freed, and you can't free it, because that would be, again, self trying to get out of self. We did this the other day. There's a statement in recovery that says, perhaps there's a better way in this life, trusting something infinite rather than finite self. All right? Sounds good. But let's say you're starting at the finite self, and now the finite self takes upon itself to be on the journey to find the infinite that could be trusting. But wouldn't that be trusting the finite self? Yeah. It's by seeing you're not. That's how you arrive at where you already are. You're never going to arrive at where you are from what you're not. You see what you're not, and you've never needed to arrive. You've been here completely. You've never missed a damn thing here. Not one moment have you ever been out of. Yeah. No, let's finish. Let me riff a little bit. Oh, never mind. Go ahead. Riffing out.
It's been my experience, I mean, going back to the practice.
Yes.
It's been my experience that the more I see it, the quicker, I mean, the repetition thing. You know?
Yes.
The more I see it, the quicker I get out. So
Yes.
Not me as an effort, but
Yes.
I can, stand as that.
Yes.
You know?
Well, seeing it is the greatest skillful mean because it's the least amount of effort.
So in that respect, the repetition, I find it useful.
Totally. Repetition is great in time. But the message is timeless. That's the interesting thing. You wouldn't want to have a repetition of a dissertation, 4 hours every 3 days. No. This is a simple invitation. I think quite entertaining quite a lot of time. I do. Have some good comedy, jewels in there. And so you make it easy, it gets in. Yeah? And the thing is, we're not talking to you. We're talking to mind, big M, not you. Because if I talk to you about big M mind, it goes nowhere. I've seen where it goes. It goes around and it doesn't go anywhere. As soon as it's you, there's time. And the biggest warning to the recognition of timelessness is trying to look for it through time. That is the biggest way it's hidden in clear sight. Yeah? Because you don't know, we're on a moving sidewalk. We're in a mental current, time, subjective time. We're in a mental current. So when you're looking at the shore, you're not staying at the same position. Yes? It's almost like being dragged. Yeah? All the time. Watch what everyone's experience or behavior while driving is usually based in time. Time is the biggest player on the highways, right? Time. We're like fish in the water. That's what time is like. Time is like the ocean that we're in as the action figure. Yeah? But what we are is timeless. That's the beauty of it. So non-duality, to me, is a presentation of possibilities. Yeah? Non-duality can never be presented because there isn't anything called non-duality. But what can happen is you can teach duality. You can teach and study and share about what you're not. Just like in AA, we are not alcoholics in a sense. But as an activity we are, and one of the great reliefs is when you go to meetings, you share what it's like to be an alcoholic, and the other people who have lived under that tyranny identify. They go, wow. And then a possibility that wasn't available to ourselves individually gets available. Yeah? In this way, mostly what you're doing is speaking of duality with the hopes that you'll see that it cannot possibly be so, and then you won't be looking for non-duality. It's sort of like you'll back in, and you'll find you're in the non-duality parking space. You just pull out of duality, and you back in, and you're in non-duality. And then when you're in non-duality, you realize you've never not been in non-duality, and you were never driving anywhere. Yeah? And so you get a sense of the non-duality by recognizing duality. Yeah? Because you can't get a sense of what you are other than by seeing what you're not. You can't get a sense of what you are, you're being it at all times. Yeah? There's no point where you can stop being it to know it, or to study it, or to experience it. Yeah? But a weird way, it's sort of like, if you look this way and you see the reflection of someone over there, and like in the store window, you can see sometimes that you're not looking at them, so they don't see you looking at them, but you can see them. Yeah? This is sort of what it's like. You see what you're not, and then you get like a boomerang hit of what you are. Yeah? And then there's a sense of, you get a flavor of being. See, being there's no thought or effort in being something. Yeah? It's very ease. It's not sweating. It's not like you're at a workout, I'm being, whatever. It's just being. It's very ease and comfort, because it has an undry-upable resource. It's infinitely being. Yeah? There's never not a moment it's not being, so that it can start to be, or that it can stop being. It's just being. And anytime you drop into it in a sufficient way out here, it will inform you it's always been that way. So in a way, it just negates all the reality of this place. And maybe it only negated it in this place for 1 second, but that 1 second is a timeless eternity. And something in you has never forgotten, nor does it ever need to remember. You are that. And that's how I heard non-duality. I heard the demonstration or the description of what was going on. It was like an unspoken yes. It's been reverberating ever since. It was like knowledge before knowledge. I just said, yep. And that was that. And then my mind just started entertaining all the possibilities that brought about. And the possibility it first brought about very quickly was, hey, if I'm not that which is driving quote-unquote me crazy, I can be free from it. And as soon as I entertained that I could be free from it, I was informed, like in a kaleidoscopic 60-year review of why, that I had been trying to be free as it most of my adult life. I had been trying to be free as it, or through it, or by it. Yeah? And the freedom was from it, to see that I'm not that. And that answer has not changed all these years, and it's become the last answer, which is a great answer. Because no, it negates any need for any other answer. I mean, to me, if there is an answer, that's the answer. The answer is in seeing what I'm not, is the closest I can get to being what I am here. Yeah? Yeah. You gotta be an authority sooner or later. You can't keep pinning it on everyone else. Dead masters are the easiest ones. They're never gonna fucking slap you in time. Somewhere or another, you're gonna have to say, hey, this is so for me. Put my money down on that square and let the wheel go and see what happens. And then you'll start seeing that power, that whatever it is, signature a lot in your life. And you'll be informed of the righteousness of the no way by living. Yeah? I don't want a turbocharged, I don't want to get out of here. It was just one of the greatest gifts, because I've been trying to get out of here since I was 6 years old. I have no, I've stopped fighting everyone and anything, unless it's fun, but not trying to change an outcome. It just doesn't work. It's like the current water trying to run through itself, through a current of itself. It's pointless. Just go along with it. It's the same, all of it. Yeah, yeah. And then there's the love of connection. Yeah. So, yeah. Any more questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
It's just for somebody that's new to non-duality, and in your opinion, what do you think helped in early recovery? Was it like meditation, or
AA? Oh, yeah.
Or AA or NA? Like, do you think one or all, or a
I think
combination?
service would be the best thing to do. Commitment, because I know what I was suffering from was a lack of belonging. That was a big thing I got out of the community of recovery, was I felt like I belonged, and you get that feeling, and it's allowed to grow when you're participating, I hope. So service, I think, is really important. And see, when it says, improve your conscious contact, it doesn't say make conscious contact. It says improve it. So the conscious contact is the basis of life. Consciousness is in contact. That to me is the highest form of maintenance, knowing you're that, or being that, not even knowing you're that, being that. Yeah? But they could have said, through prayer, meditation, hiking, swimming, they could have added 800 freaking words. I wouldn't say, don't get stuck in 2 little examples. Yeah? They didn't have that many. They hadn't been introduced to that many other ways in 1935, yeah? So, to me, service, the sense of belonging, participating with recovery. What I learned early was sit in the front, if I can, near the front, pay attention to who's ever speaking. At the end of the meeting, say hello to any newcomers, and try to put some chairs away if you can. And if you're smart and you're lucky, I pray for the ability to be convinced, so you'll realize you're not managerial quality. Instead of having to be taught that the rest of your life, might as well go easy on yourself. And then the most important thing is the first year is allowing actions that support recovery to become habits. Because the problem resides in the mind, yeah, in the thought system, and an action that turns into a habit is an action without thought. And you don't want your thoughts to have anything to say with your recovery, especially if it's a life or death thing. That's my experience with it. So I think getting the right habits is the most important insurance policy. And then don't listen when your head says it's, oh, I'm fucked, or doing this and doing that. That's it playing God. Don't buy its like daily feed. It's news feed. It's mostly propaganda. Really is. And it's constantly playing God. Like when you wake up and it tells you how the day's going to be. What's that but playing God? watch it. It tells you how you are, how they are, how they're going to be, how you're going to be. It's just pontificating constantly. And it's proven wrong most of the time. Yeah? So in AA it says, the first thing is to quit playing God. Now this is how I see it. If that which is playing God, the head, claims to be the one who hears the suggestion, quit playing God, and then it starts trying to quit playing God, what is that but playing God? Yeah. So that which is playing God can never quit playing God, because it'd still be playing God, yeah? It'll go on ad infinitum. That's the whole premise of self can't get out of self. It's before the idea that you're in self is the out. It's not a result or an escape from being in self to get out of self. They're telling you that's not going to happen. The out is prior. So you see that you're not a self, and therefore you're not driven to get out of it, and that's the out of it, really. Because the driving to get out of it is its biggest form of being in self. See, if something isn't so, but it causes what is so to move away from it, it's now gotten so-ness by the reaction of what's so. We're reality. Yeah? We have a statement in recovery called the acronym of fear. One of them is false evidence appearing real. If you look at that, false evidence appears real. It's not random. False evidence appears real to what's real, us. So false evidence it can't be real, but it can be real to what's real. Yeah? If I believe it, it's going to seem to be fucking so, and it's going to produce effects. Look at what happens if you believe next Wednesday. Next Wednesday can produce an effect on this Wednesday right now. Not because it's that powerful of a Wednesday, it's because of us. We're miracle workers all day, we're not aware of it. We're not. We have so much power being just thrown around. People are ruining their freaking days, entertaining thoughts about what's not happening. Not because the thoughts are that powerful, they are. Yeah, really. We're like a huge power source we think we're everything and that's all that we're thinking about, but we've missed the hugeness of what we really are. It's mind-boggling. I'll tell you something. This is a little story we had last night, because this has made a big effect on me. We're moving out of this house, and we have a lot of stuff. And so we put some stuff on Craigslist and Nextdoor, these places next door in the neighborhoods you live. They're like websites, and you can look at what people have. So a lot of people said, oh, it looks beautiful, but no one showed up. Then this lady called me up and says, do you still have some of the stuff? I said, yeah, and with all the stuff. So she came over last night with her mother, and they wanted to look at this antique bed I have, which is about 120 years old. So we walk into the bedroom and I'm showing it to her, and I'm looking at her and I go, I think I know you. Were you in the I Ching, into the I Ching? And she goes, yeah. And then she starts looking at me and says, oh, we were with Jean Chen, Tai Chi. And I said, yeah, and I knew the lady. Yeah, so then her and her mother start buying everything. I swear to God, she bought like 7 pieces. And then after she leaves, I'm just shocked. We made a couple thousand in like 10 minutes. I'm just amazed. And then she texts me and says, in the old days, like 20-something years ago, I used to visit you, and I told you I really wanted to buy this bed. And I said, I laughed at her and I said, well, I'll put you as number 1 on the list. And then she got it 20 fucking years later. Can you believe it? To me, having the eyes to see that just promotes a huge amount of gratitude, because I can think my way into a paper fucking bag. I can't think my way out of a paper bag. And this thing just blew my freaking mind. And she lives where we live on this lagoon, and now she says, oh yeah, you can use our house as an access to the lagoon. So if I ever want to go swimming and kayaking, I can go here. So it's like you're thinking of maybe like a 4-day-old like hot dog, and you get a fucking 5-course meal, freaking gourmet catered. Look at what's happening, Jesus, why not just admit you don't know and let something reveal itself to you, through you and through others, yeah? I mean, I've been introduced to love through other people. I didn't know what the fuck it was. I thought I knew, and I thought I'd missed the boat. But thank God my store was still open, even though I had the window shade full. Someone knocked in and came in because it's just blown me fucking away the last year. So it's never too late for things to occur. So, and this is what the joy of living is to have your hand on the pulse, you know, be awake to being awake. It's not hard. You're awake, you're inherently awake, but you can either seem to be awake to that or seem not to be awake to it. It doesn't change the fact. Your consciousness you have no volition over it. If you're looking and your eyes are open one way, you're going to see whatever's there. Yeah? You're feeling tons of shit that after the fact you go, I didn't want to feel that, but you felt it because something comes before your head comes. Yeah? That's us. We are that which comes before, not that which appears later. The appearance later implies that it's before. That's the robbery. It does it in time. This is what the essence, if you want to see the essence of selfing in time, that's it. That which comes after implies it's before. So conscious contact is what's happening. The mental state, it's you that's been seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, after the seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting. And as soon as you buy this product, you feel like you're the one who was seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. I see with the selfing. People in LA did it perfectly. They say, all right, let's see. All right, so self is selfing, yeah? And how much is self-selfing during the day in your life? And how much is it not selfing? I said, no, you're missing the point. There's the selfing, and then there's the sense of self. You can know that you bought the product when you feel like you're the one that was selfing. That's it. The selfing comes first, and it implies that there's a someone. Then the mental state does like a leapfrog, believes it's a someone, and then calls me and says, I've been selfing all day. It's either two things. Either I've been selfing has been driving me crazy, or I've been doing it. That's the heist. Conscious contact is what's happening here. Yeah? I'm seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching with no thought or effort. Sometimes I'd rather not see a lot of the shit I see. Or feel a lot of shit I feel. But it just happens, yeah? And you got to deal with it because you're an afterthought. You have no power. And then suddenly, I buy the presentation of Paul as the one who's seeing. And then suddenly, Paul has this feeling, and then it has tons of opinions about what I've been seeing all day. Fuck. Tons of opinions because it claims the seeing. And makes up a story that it was the one that was seeing. And I wish I hadn't seen that. Did you see that? Did you see what that person? On and on and on. And it's like everyone is living in the world of after and in complete denial of which is before, which is us. You want to call it the animating force or spirit, whatever you want to call it. But it's obvious on, yeah? And you don't have any access to the switch, basically. People can't even kill themselves. A lot of people fail. I knew a guy, I worked with him. His name was Harry Godman. It's a great last name. And he was in London, and he's having a terrible time. He jumped out like a 4-story window. But he woke up, and now he was a cripple. He didn't succeed. He lived with a catheter and a cane. I said, Jesus, that must have been terrible. You couldn't even kill yourself. You couldn't even get out of it. Oh, he did by getting drunk and died. You know, it's amazing. So it's an assumption of power we don't have. Yeah? Why not just freaking admit it? Stop with the shenanigans. It'll go easier on you. And maybe you can have connection with others while you're going through this whole event instead of being alone and right in one's head. Because that's what you're going to get. You're going to be right and alone. You have a nice snooze out there? All right, that's it. Oh, another question? Go ahead. You came from Barcelona. You've got at least 3 questions.
I just, it's not so much of a So, I mean, in a sense, the whole life story, it never really happened, because it was always an interpretation
Yes.
of, you know, you got conscious contact and then you interpret and you build up this whole story, but it never really happened,
No.
right?
Yes. The only thing that happened is conscious contact.
Right.
Yeah. Nothing ever happened, but everything's happening. But nothing ever happened. Because there's only no thing happening. Us. See, that's the point. We're dreaming. The best description to me is dreaming. Yeah. So the mind is dreaming. It has space and time. So the way they used to describe it, you know, for something to appear, it needs space to appear in, and for something to be seen, it needs time to be seen. Yeah. So time and space are the main dynamics of the dreaming, and the mental state's just dreaming. We're like a camera. Yeah. We're projecting. And then we believe we're perceiving it as a real thing. But mind's projecting, like the Course in Miracles says, mind projects and then we perceive, yeah? So the mind, what we are is dreaming, and then this is a camera as the dreamt, and it perceives the dreaming as real, because it takes itself to be real, yeah? And that's what happens. The Course would say, you and I give everything all the meaning it has, and it says, you know, you and I are the dreaming of the dream. We forget that we're dreaming. How's that occurring? I believe by being identified as the dreamt. And in that condition, we give everything we're dreaming the power to affect us. It sounds like everyone's day. Yeah? So if you're dreaming thoughts, and you're dreaming them as yours, then the thought can own you, which they do. Yeah? Once you own the thought owns you. Once you own a feeling, the feeling can own you. Yeah? It's a trip. And seeing it, understanding it isn't going to help. See, you can have great knowledge about it, it still doesn't matter. View or understanding is not vision. Vision is different. Vision is just the incessant onness of being. Yeah, it doesn't need an understanding. We as this need an understanding to live here. Yeah, because this fucking place doesn't make much sense. Yeah. But the vision isn't produced by understanding. The vision, if you have an understanding such as non-duality or duality, and it's charged with vision, that's fucking awesome. It's a nice way to travel here. Yeah? Because the light is going to travel in time, and one of the best conductors of light through time is understanding. While you're living now. Yeah. So, it's cool. Alright, that's it, eh? Yeah? Everyone's satiated? Enough? You got enough? Let's pass the best, I think. And we're getting